Number ones. I got caught. I got caught. Boom. Look at this. Exposing Metatron, a forensic a forensic analysis of his English by Stuart J. Raj. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say, just put the theatrics out. This is a fantastic video, and you should absolutely go subscribe to this man. He did a phenomenal job. I freaking love it. He even used the spectrogram. Spectrogram on me. So without further ado, let's see what I can learn. You know, it's never too late to. I'm going to stop. Okay, no further ado, please.
Because we see an unintentional T in the wild of Metatron. Have a listen.
According to some while animate.
Can you hear that? If. It's not a native English.
Yeah, I should have said if. I do that, by the way. I am fully cognizant of the fact that in English you have the I sound and you have the sound, and only occasionally the I as a letter represents the E sound, as if in, just like in machine, for instance. I'm aware, but it's just that when I speak and I focus more on what I say rather than how I say it, then it slips. So I know that I'm supposed to say if, sit, but I will say seat occasionally. Yeah.
Can I make a prediction? You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I suspect, given your sounds, that you probably first hit native English society. Like when I say that, I mean like kind of immersed some way. Either you had somebody living with you or you were living in it between the ages of is Metatron.
Oh, I'm actually looking forward to that. Let's see if he got it right. Did he get it right?
A liar.
Am I a liar? That's a good shot. That's a good shot he chose. Oh my gosh.
We see him out there. He's there saying, oh, he's a Muppet.
He's a Muppet. He's a Muppet.
I don't really like that. And he's trying to get us to believe that he's not a native English speaker. So today we got something special for you.
Thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate.
A lot of you have been asking out there in the comments section as we've been doing these language analyses from Evil Deer to all of these Thai speakers.
Good friend of the channel, by the way, Evil Deer.
How do you actually use this spectrogram? So the spectrogram...
You buy a Macintosh, I suppose.
...is the tool. I'm using the one in Audition here, or the spectrograph is the actual print that you see. So sometimes I'll mix them up. So what I thought I'd do today, which will be a bit of fun, is that we're going to get Metatron, who claims that he's not a native English speaker, and see whether he's telling the truth or not. Because I can tell you, when I hear Metatron speak, there are some sounds there. And if I just catch it in isolation, I'm thinking, come on, he's a native speaker. He must have been born there or something. But then maybe there have been things that give him away. Maybe he was born in the UK and then he went and lived somewhere else and he's picked up things from other languages. Today, we're going to put I
really appreciate that. I think it's quite obvious to... I think it's obvious that I'm not a native speaker, but I think it's also... So, for instance, just to do a self-assessment, just keeping it real, okay? So I'm not going to do, oh, look at me, I'm so good, for instance, 小马, you know? But I'm also not going to do false humility, just, no, I suck. Because I know I don't suck, but I also know you can tell that if you're a native English speaker, you can tell there is something wrong. And it's difficult to put it into words, though, unless you are trained like this man, which is why I'm like interested, because that's what he does. He understands all of the different, I believe he's like a language coach, an accent coach, among other things, linguist. So this guy knows, and he's the one who's going to be able to basically put into words that thing that you always think when you hear him speak, and you think, oh yeah, he's fluent in English, absolutely, but there is something. So that's what I think. I think if you give me a single word in isolation, whatever it is, I will pronounce it native-like. That's what I think. I might F up, but it's like it's a dice roll. I guess if I hit a 1 or a 2, I'll still mispronounce it. But in the majority of cases, you give me a single word, I'll pronounce it correctly. But once I have to orchestrate them inside a sentence, there is a lot of factors, for instance, my emotional state, how involved I am, that will bring back the Italianness, just like it did now. Bring back the Italianness, giving it kind of a weird rhythm, a weird pacing. That's what I would say. Now, at an individual sound level, what do I do? The I, yes, as we saw in the beginning, is something that I will like mess up, absolutely. So I will say, if I have time to think, I say English. But without it, I might say English, if I'm in the middle of a very fast spoken sentence when I'm actually focusing on what I am saying rather than how I'm saying it. But there is more to it, and he's the man who's going to help me, please, correct these things so I can get closer to a native speaker. I love it.
Metatron's English under the microscope and see whether or not he really is a non-native speaker of English. Full disclaimer here, actually, we have a bit of a secret group in the background. Evil Ear, Metatron, and myself. It's awesome. Been chatting. And so I've given him a heads up that I will be doing this. So I'll be interested to see some of his responses. Actually, there's a lot of stuff in here that in listening to it, I have a zillion questions I'd like to ask. So for those...
Let's do this live. I mean it. Like now I'm reacting to your video. That's another word that oftentimes native speakers are like, oh, I can tell you're Italian by the way you say video. Right, but it's a Latin word, so shut it. I don't have to pronounce it. Video, whatever. But that one I do on purpose. But in general, I think this is going to be great. I'm reacting to it. And I think the audience, though, do let me know in the comments, because if my own audience thinks, oh, this would be great, please do a live stream where he asks questions, we discuss, talk about accents, and, you know, maybe it would be fantastic. And I'm more than happy. Let's do it anytime. I mean, this week is Christopher Nolan's week. Nolan. So I'm kind of busy, but next week I'm ready.
Those of you who haven't heard Metatron's English, what you're talking about, you bunch of muppets. I want you to have a listen to him first, so you've got a baseline of what we're looking at.
Hey, number ones, welcome back to my channel. So today we have a question for you. Should you learn Chinese or Japanese? And what do I mean by we? Have I gone mad? Have I gone mad? Have I reached the final culmination of my complete insanity by going into plural of majesty, plurale maestatis, royal we? No, I'm talking about that this is a question from this channel. Like even then, when I said no, that's because I'm putting up an act. In natural everyday speech, if you literally give me the N and the O and you tell me pronounce it, I would say no. But in that context, nah, it was funnier. So that's why I say it like that, okay? Rafi Puff. So it's an interesting question, one that I had to ask myself when I was a student at university. So
okay, so you've got a baseline there of his English. Yes. If you are a native English speaker, first of all, it's so refreshing to hear somebody who is saying they're a non-native speaker of English, but not speaking like an American, especially saying...
I couldn't even if I tried. I mean, I can try, but then usually if I do, I don't sound natural at all. If you think that when I speak English, the way I picked it up in the UK, right? If you think that that's not like, yeah, but there's just something weird that you haven't heard me try an American accent, because then you're going to be like, oh yeah, just don't. Not because there is anything wrong. I love the American accent. I married an American. I freaking love it. But I think it's because, I mean, now I'm exposed to it, I suppose, a lot more, but it sounds like a caricature. Like it doesn't sound real, believable.
In Thailand or across Asia, the go-to version of English for many people, because of movies and you know, entertainment, is usually this American accent. So it's great hearing a UK accent on...
He's Australian, by the way. You can tell by the way he creates and articulates his sounds. Cool.
Somebody who's a non-native speaker. So what I've done is I've actually gone in and made a whole lot of markers as I've been going through this, and I want to show you little bits of the voice, and as we're going through it, I'll show you how this spectrogram works, how you could use it for your language learning and fixing up your...
I actually use it for Mandarin and occasionally for the pictures of Japanese. So I have used it. It's very useful. In Japanese, for instance, when you're trying to figure out the difference between hana and hana, and you're like, but they sound the same. True, but if you add the particle hanaga, and hanaga is different. I'm talking about, of course, nose and flowers. And spectrogram is fantastic to look to actually see, because that way you can confirm, okay, so it wasn't just in my head. It's real. It's happening. There is a difference, and I can actually physically see it.
Pronunciation across other languages, and how we can see some really fascinating stuff in Metatron's English. So here's the...
I'm honored that he finds this fascinating. I really am, because, I mean, it's just me. At the end of the day, there's a lot of there are plenty of speakers who speak better than me, any language, whether it be Japanese, Mandarin, English. So I appreciate that he finds me fascinating, because I think there are people that are like a lot better than me when it comes to this. But hey, I'm having a good time.
First clip that I've pulled out.
And what do I mean by we? And what do I mean by we?
Okay, so first thing I want to have a look at here. Now, I've put these markers, you can see here, so you can see what do I mean by we. I've actually marked them out.
Okay.
And each one that I've pulled out has a specific reason why I pulled it out. How this works is you can see actually the notes of the scale here. So you've got octaves down here. So this is the pitch. This is a very high part of your voice, and this is a low part of your voice down the bottom. Now we've got left and right. So just look at one bar there. And then...
One bar? I think he said bar there. This is something that happens sometimes with Australians. Actually, I'm interested. I do have this question for you. Because generally speaking, the Australian accent is non-rhotic, just like the majority of UK accents. Not all of them, but the majority of UK accents tend to be non-rhotic. Normally, when we imagine a rhotic accent, so the one where the R is pronounced regardless of whether it's at the end of the word, at the beginning of a word, or in intervocalic positioning, which is usually what differentiates. Like, non-rhotic accents do not pronounce the R when it's in intervocalic or when it's at the end of the word, and there are exceptions. So like if the next word begins with a vowel, then sometimes it's used as a sort of liaison, if you will, but not always. Some people actually don't do that and will instead use a glottal stop. So there are situations, it's situational, and in fact there are scenarios which I'll give you an example. The car under the bridge. Some people do, even though you say car, but the car under is easy to say because it's in between two vowels, right? But there are some people who might just put a little glottal stop in there, the car under, and don't actually end up pronouncing the R. And then there are situations where you do put an R, and this happens in the UK, I don't know if it happens in Australia, where there isn't one. Like law and order or drawing, this does happen. Regardless, I noticed that even though generally speaking, Australian accents are non-rhotic in the sense that they don't pronounce the R, when sometimes they do. I've seen this happen with Shad as well, from Shadiversity. I don't remember if I've ever seen it happen with Evil Dia, another Australian. What is it with all these Australians, by the way? But he just did. But if you hear any other situation, he doesn't pronounce it.
High part of your voice, and this is a low part of your voice down the bottom. Now we've got left and right. So just look at one bar there.
Bar there. He did pronounce it. I would say bar there, but it's... But so does he, usually. So it's sometimes Australians do pronounce the R, and I wonder what affects it.
And then the more yellow...
See, he said more. He didn't say more.
It is, the more vibration coming from the folds in your voice box.
And what do I mean by we? And what do I mean by we? And what do I mean by we?
We.
Okay, there is one main thing. There are two things in there, but the main thing I want you to look at here is his pronunciation of D.
Oh, do. What do I mean by D? Okay, so he's going into... I understand. So my D's and T's sometimes do come from the Italian matrix. He's correct. Not always, I would say, because sometimes I say would and sometimes I say would. So I guess it's situational for me. I can switch between the two. I imagine if I don't think too much, I might revert. Might be one of those cases when I'm reverting back to standard Italian, completely unaspirated, in fact, T and D. It's not always the case, though, I would say.
Okay, so
yeah,
if we have a look here, you can see this is his D. Now, if I say, what do I mean?
Yeah, he does D.
As a native English speaker from Australia, I'll say, what do I mean? What do I mean? Now, if he's putting a glottal stop in, what
I do. What do I mean? I don't really say the T in that situation.
do I mean? D. But even with a native English speaker from the UK that uses glottal stops, they will tend to have a voiced D.
Yes.
Now, there are other
Oh, you think mine was unvoiced? Was it?
dialects in English and native speaking English that do, say from New York, do it. But look at this. That tick there, and you see no voice activated.
Huh.
And what do I do?
It must be because of the glottal stop in my case. This is fascinating, by the way. I love this, scientific almost. But I would say it's probably do. What do I mean? What do I mean? What do I mean? It must be the glottal stop that is effing up my D.
Why? do. What's happening is he's got this glottal stop, but the stop has actually deactivated the voice for the beginning of the word do. So he's got an unaspirated T, which is close to a dental T, not do where I've got d. So this, if you get your tongue and you roll your tongue back from your teeth and you feel that bump there, that's called the alveolar ridge.
Don't try this at home.
Or the hard palate. And so in English, that's where you pronounce an N from N. T comes from there.
T.
D comes from there too. Not from up on the teeth. Now,
Yeah, that will be how we do it in Italian. T, D.
Italiano.
See.
Yeah, tongue is closer to the teeth. And so we can hear this dental unaspirated T sneaking in because of the glottal stop coming.
Glottal stop that doesn't exist in Italian. So this is actually interesting. I'm having a field day here.
From here, making it sound like do.
And what do I mean by we? And what do I mean by we? And what do I mean by we?
Can you hear the ticking?
It's kind of funny, though, because it still sounds like a D to me. But then again, I'm not a native English speaker. So I guess the acceptable D range for an Italian is different from the acceptable D range for an English person or whatever
What do I mean by we? Now, I'm exaggerating it there.
Yeah.
Then you might think, oh, come on, you're nitpicking here. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, of course. This is the fun of it.
The thing is, as a native speaker, if I want to check if he's a native speaker, while there might be dialects where this is done, it's about in aggregate. In aggregate, would somebody speaking the version of English he's speaking have these sounds together? And so as a native speaker, as I'm listening...
And just to be clear, my version, because I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone in the UK, my version of English is UK inspired. So it's English from England, inspired. But if you take an actual English speaker from England, I mean, that's the ones you want to emulate, not me, because I'm messing up stuff all the time. Okay, so that's important to underline. So I don't represent the English accent. I represent a foreigner who picked up English in England, and so my English is sort of inspired by it, with a few fucks ups from Italian and possibly a few other interjections in there that I don't even realize, because it's possible that at one point I heard an Australian, a South African, or an American say something and it's registered, and so now I mimic it and I add it into the overall English accent, but with then there is an Australian word, and then there is a South African word, and then there is an American word, and I don't even know that I'm pronouncing them that way. So that's important to underline. Your sort of respect to people who actually speak English from England.
Listening to him, some native speakers wouldn't know that that's it, but they're thinking something's a little
something wrong.
Perhaps it's that.
Have I gone mad? Have I gone mad? Have I gone mad? Have I gone mad? Have I gone mad?
Okay, we got two things. Have I gone mad? That's how I would say it.
Yeah, different intonation.
As an Australian English speaker, have I gone mad? But he's speaking like somebody from the UK. Have I gone mad?
Yeah, I think my intonation was good there, to be honest. By the way, where am I getting from? Because I heard it on the streets when I was in England. So I heard people say that, and so I'm basically mimicking out of memory.
Mad. There he's close. I'm thinking might be a little too far forward. Mad. It's closer to how we would say it in Australia.
Gone mad.
This mad. Let me know if you're from the UK.
So what's the UK equivalent then?
Is your further back? Mad.
Mad. Oh, I think, no, that depends on the... I'm not from the UK, but I think it depends on the region. So I've heard people in the UK pronounce the the short not the R, as in class or star, which that one also changes because down south, generally speaking, that one would be extended. So your class, star. But already if you go to Manchester, it sounds more like star. So it's like, it's different. It sounds different, even that one. But the short one, the one in cat, right? I've heard people in the UK say cat, say ket. I know that you'll be like, but that doesn't sound English at all. Right, but it was a very old person. So if you listen to the early recordings of, for instance, the Queen, she used to say bank of England, understand, happy, rather than happy. So there has been a transition into the vocalization of the short R, which went from a sort of air sound all the way down to variations. And yes, some people say mad, have, but some people do say have. It's in between. And then there are still very old people, I mean, I guess they're mostly dying out now, that still said that. I remember my friend's father, Englishman, but he was in his like late 80s. He's dead now. Good man. But he used to say hammer instead of hammer. There is variation, and it's regional. And so that's the thing.
Mad, or is it mad like this? But then look at what's happening here again.
Mad.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. Can you see this big gap here? Right?
Right.
The same thing that I just mentioned happening with a D is happening at the end as well. So listen to me. Mad.
I don't even hear a D.
My voice...
I hear an approximation, mate.
Voice carries over into the D, and I don't aspirate it at the end. Mad. Even if I did aspirate it, that'd be mad.
Okay.
Mad.
Yes.
I've got this voicing happening.
Mad.
But listen to this.
Yeah, mine in this case is closer to a T. He's absolutely right.
If I just isolate the end there, it's actually devoiced and come out as a T.
Man, I love devoicing my shit. I'm all about those devoicing. I must be a racist towards voicing.
Can you hear that? This is a clue that shows me maybe he isn't a native English speaker. Maybe he's telling the truth. Yeah. Now let's listen to this block. It's a bit
I always tell the truth, by the way, in any context.
A long one.
Have I reached the final culmination of my...
Oh, he's going to have a problem with the culmination, yeah. Culmination. He's going to connect it to Italian U, but I don't think that's what's happening in my mind. I think it's because, remember, these are improvised videos on camera. What this means is that it's not scripted. So what am I going to say next is what I'm thinking, rather than I need to say culmination rather than culmination. I think that's what I'm doing, by the way. Culmination rather than cool, which is probably where he's going to go.
Complete insanity by going into plural of majesty. Have I reached the final culmination of my complete insanity by going into plural of majesty?
Two things I just want to pull out on this. The first one, have a listen to this.
Culmination.
I knew it.
Of culmination.
As a native English speaker, I probably wouldn't say culmination.
But neither did I, though. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. You're the expert, so I could be wrong. I don't think I said culmination. I said culmination. So should I have said culmination to be more coherent with the accent that I generally follow? Yes, most likely. But that U is a little strange, and I think the reason is the fact that I tend to, not always, but I tend to have dark L's. So a video game, Zelda 13, or... It's called the dark L, and another one, channel rather than channel, people rather than people. I don't really pronounce those L's. And so this is one of those reasons why when I'm saying culmination, I'm like not fully pronouncing the L, which I think is impacting the way I pronounce the U. Once again, a non-native sound, and that's perfectly fine, but I don't think it's coming from where he thinks it's coming from, which is the Italian U, because that would be a beginner's mistake. I think it's still a mistake, but it's a mistake that comes from a different articulation of the L. That's just my position on it, but I could be wrong, and I'm happy to be corrected. I'm here to learn.
Say the culmination. Yeah. And if Metatron is truly, as he says, a native Italian speaker, it would be instinctive maybe to have a U pronounced more like an U
Only in the very beginning of, but I mean, I've been speaking English for decades now, so I don't think that that's still a thing, because otherwise I should say culture, but I say culture. So that's not, I think, the reason here. I think it's the L and the fact that I'm just improvising on camera, just like today, I'm improvising.
And then, so where I would say culmination.
Yes.
If he said culmination, I'm thinking, that's a bit suspicious.
Culmination of.
Okay. And then the next thing I wanted you to hear is
my complete insanity.
Have a listen to the T in the word complete.
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 I did do an Italian T. He's absolutely right. I didn't even notice it.
Complete. He's got this dental T again.
Yeah.
Which for that variety of English where he...
Inappropriate, he's correct.
He is speaking from in the UK, wherever that is.
Yeah.
That T up on the teeth there is not normal. You would think...
You know, I'm glad that I use so many glottal stops then, because my T's are a mess. Get crossing all your T's. Yeah, get rid of them while you're at it.
Complete or complete back here.
Yeah,
not complete.
He's right, complete.
Complete.
So you can see it's this very dental T. So that's another clue. So far, we've got the dental T.
I need to see a dentist.
And the devocalizing of voiced sounds like D.
Shameful. I'm joking, by the way.
To T. So now the next one.
I'm talking about.
Okay, now we got the glottal stop coming in. So just now we had it, but now he's got a full glottal stop in the word about.
About.
And his tongue's not even going up to the palate there, which is great. It's very normal. It sounds like a real British glottal stop there. They don't even put their tongue going up towards the palate. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, bro. I've been working on that.
Okay, then we have it again. Bro, again, the vowel on bro, it sounds nice, but bro. But his is bro. It's a little bit forward, just like that A I mentioned before. But it's just nitpicking. But it's something as a native English speaker, I might pick up on as being not congruent.
Yes.
On that,
being not congruent is perfectly descriptive of my mind.
And then we've got on that.
On that.
And you can actually see here.
Yeah, deactivated.
See this? This is the glottal stop. You can
yes, the operatives are gone.
See his voice totally stops there, and it's that.
Didn't even try.
You see that? Let me pull it up here. Maybe it's clearer. That.
Yes.
It's the glottis just totally killing the voice, and you can see it's all dark
It's a murder.
and black in this position here.
Wow.
The entire airflow has just stopped.
And the culture, because I find.
So the next one.
Again. And the culture, because I find.
I've still got voicing here, but have a look at here. Let me zoom in at the end here. The word find.
Find.
Can you see this black gap?
Yeah, this is fascinating because I would pay for this. I would pay for this.
And this ticking at the end. The voice stops, and then you get that, again, de-vocalizing of the D would be a giveaway.
While animate.
Now, I've pulled this next one out because we see an unintentional T in the...
Yeah, why did I say animate? I don't know why. I must have got confused because I think I just meant anime, as in Japanese. Yeah, because it's about Japanese. I don't know why I put it
of Metatron. Have a listen.
According to some... while animate, according to some...
Did you hear that? He didn't even mean to say T. It wasn't in what he was saying. He might have been thinking of a word here with T to come, but he pronounced this. Can you hear it?
Good rhythm.
To really up on the teeth.
Yeah.
It's not a it's a up on his teeth. Again, this is not a real natural UK T that you would hear in the wild.
Yes.
Okay, listen to this.
It exposes you to a lot.
So he's got it exposes you. So he's got the T coming in here. So it's not, it exposes you. It exposes you.
Yeah, but that would be double glottal stop. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, if you want, you could say it exposes you. I think you can pronounce the T's if you want and still be okay. Like, for instance, he gave the example of saying British, but you can say British. They're both fine. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. I'm just trying to figure out.
It exposes you. So he's putting the aspirated T in there, which is quite dental, but then
exposes you to a lot of
True.
to a lot of
Man, I didn't even notice that I was using glottal stop with a lot of. Yeah, I don't really say a lot of.
To a lot of. So we've got, again, this mixing of glottal stops versus the actual aspiration. Now, I get it. If you're presenting, you want to speak nicely. So when you consciously think to knock it in, you might put your T's in there.
Yep.
But this is happening at a non-predictable time with Metatron here. Sometimes it's thrown in, sometimes it's not, which goes to show, can I make a prediction? You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay, let's see.
I suspect, given your sounds, that you probably first hit native English society. Like, when I say that, I mean like kind of immersed some way. Either you had somebody living with you or you were living in it between the ages of 8 to 12.
Wow.
The reason I say...
Well, I take that as a compliment because actually, no, I started... It sort of depends. If you're talking immersion, I was already 20, between 19 and 20. And 18 is when I was the very first time in my life that I heard a native speaker speak English. Before that, not a word. It was just a little bit of reading with a thick Italian accent. That's all it was in my English training. So late teens to very early 20s is when we are talking actual immersion. That's why I always say I picked up English in my teens. I mean 19, like late teens. Yeah, at 18, I was like studying and I was listening. So I guess 18 counts too, but I wasn't immersed because that was in Italy. But it's like between 19 and 20 that I actually got immersed in the English language. Before that, I had no idea what I was talking about and I could not understand a word.
That now, your voice box is like a Grand Canyon. You know, you see all of the layers of stone and shale and all of this going up. I can tend to hear when certain consonants and vowels and even tones for tonal languages have set into the voice tract of non-native learners of a language. And so the way I'm hearing your vowels, the way I'm hearing the glottal stops coming in subconsciously, but sometimes they're not there, but you've still got these coming in from your mother tongue. And there's this way that it's sort of all sort of falling in, just like the shale and the dirt and the rocks and stuff in the Grand Canyon.
Fantastic analogy. Love
I
it.
call 8 to 12 years old that you...
I really appreciate that. It's really a massive compliment. That's how I take it. Thank you very much for that. I think it's because I was a little obsessed. I was a little obsessed over trying to pronounce things correctly. And when I was in England, because I think the reason is, and while I may have failed on some areas, I think I have succeeded on others. And the reason is because I just wanted to integrate. That's the reason. I was a 19, 20-year-old, and I wanted to be like them because I loved English people. I loved the country. And I was like, oh, how do you say it? I felt it as a great fun. It was fun to be like, but how do you say it? Oh, that's how it's actually pronounced. And that's why. And I got a little obsessed over it. I did the same in Japan with my Japanese. I tried to be like, but how do you actually pronounce it? And then I started to get like obsessed with the pitch accent a little bit. In Mandarin, I just wanted to get the tones right. It's part of my personality, I suppose. And
probably immersed in native English speaking. Let me know if I'm near correct or I'm just totally off the mark.
I think, you were off the mark, but again, I'm glad you were.
politeness.
That's one, by the way. I noticed that native English speakers in English, so this does not apply to like the Australian accent, I think, or I'm not sure if it applies to the American accent. I think it does, but in general, I noticed that native speakers make a distinction between the way where is pronounced, like where are you, where, and were, as in the past tense plural of, was, were. So that's how I say it. I say, but sometimes I slip and I forget, I pronounce them the same. But in general, if I have time to think, I noticed this distinction that people were like, you were, but where, right? And like, where are you? And so I love, it's a small thing. It's not a big deal. Also because there are people that do pronounce them both where. But I like it. I like the difference, and I love that I noticed it. And so the moment I notice something like this is when I try to mimic it to the best of my ability.
History, their politeness, their history.
Okay, so this next one.
Their politeness.
Okay, so again, politeness. We've got the glottal stop instead of politeness. Politeness. We've got this going back and forth.
I think it's because it's a little lazy talk. It's easier rather than saying politeness. I think it's easier to say politeness.
Between glottal stop, non-glottal stop. But when it's not a glottal stop, we will get this dental T rather than a T from closer to the hard palate. And we're getting devocalization.
Interesting how he says hard palate. I would say hard.
Of vocals like D to T. Okay, next.
Traditions, the way they...
Okay, again, so this is the same thing that happened to the D before. Listen to this.
Traditions.
Okay, what I'm going to put this little bit here.
Traditions.
I've got to work on those D's and T's, am I right?
And let me just pull this bit here. Listen to this. If I'm a native speaker, traditions.
Oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. Thank you for that. I did do traditions, but he's now teaching me it's traditions. I had no idea. I just learned it. I was today years old when I found this one out. I love this. Thank you for allowing me to improve my English, by the way. This is great. And I hope that this helps other people. Yeah, definitely. I do say traditions. I don't say traditions. So, great. I do remember actually when I was in the UK, I was in London at that point, I think. And I did say represent or representatives. And someone told me, no, it's actually representatives. Represent. And so I appreciate when people correct me. And that's great.
I've still got remnants of my voice over the S, traditions from the N because it's vocalized. Here, the glottis has closed and your S is coming out as an unvoiced S, which is the same, which is the spelling. It's an S. But actually, because of the N, we would say traditions. Tradition.
Even now, he said because of. I would say because of, and it's probably, again, my accent, but flipped around. I would do Z because of the fact that there is an O afterwards. And I wonder if it'd be nice because that's, I just noticed it though, because he's making me focus. He said because of. I would say because of, and that's probably my accent. Goodness gracious. How many decades?
You can hear that buzzing. Here we're getting a devocalization.
So I'm flipping them basically.
Which turns it into traditions.
Traditions.
Goodness gracious, I've been saying traditions for my entire life. Well, today is the day I change it. Traditions.
Traditions
rather than traditions.
Act.
Now listen to that. That is a normal native English T.
Yeah, I guess it depends. I guess it really depends on how much I'm focusing. So I am capable of pronouncing the native English T, but sometimes if I'm not as focused and I'm a little bit more relaxed, that's when it happens.
It's totally different to the other T's that we've heard. Have a listen to this.
Act.
Mm-hmm. When he's saying it, act. Now, in normal speech, I might not enunciate the T at the end, but if I were to enunciate the T at the end...
He did say were, so he's one of those who closes it. Interesting. Must depend on the area in Australia then, whether you open that one or close it.
I would say it like that, act. And notice how his T here, can you see how, as opposed to those other T's that we're just showing down here, act, it's taken up this full section way up to the top, act. It's a really full T sound rather than just a dental sound.
Right.
So act. This is native way of saying act. If I were to aspirate the T. Next.
I learned Japanese because of anime. I learned Japanese because...
Oh, I did say because. Yeah, I did say because of.
Okay, can you see that? So this time he's actually kept the S to a Z because of anime. But here, because of anime.
See, he doesn't do it.
Because because of anime, because of anime. As a native English speaker, I actually devoice.
Man, this video is a gold mine.
In because of anime, because of anime. But have a listen to this.
I learned Japanese because of.
Okay, and you can see here the voice is activated 100%. Over the S in because.
Yes.
Cause of.
Have a listen to this.
But in isolation, would you say because, or would you always say because? Because in isolation sounds weird to say because to my non-native ear. I would say because, but then I understand because of anime. If that's how it's said, that's how it's said. I'm just wrong. Yeah.
Again, people can't teach you this stuff. It's just stuff that's picked up, and it's why I suspect he may have hit.
Well, I mean, you just did teach it, though. So you can't teach this stuff. It's just that it's usually, I mean, you need to go really in depth.
Between the ages of 8 and 12. If he got there before 8, those little things like because of, but this is because of anime, because in many other words, that S would stay voiced.
Yes.
It just happens. I don't know why. It's devoiced. Maybe it's not. If you're from the UK, say because of anime, because does your voice...
Yeah, actually, let me know in the comments.
Cut off just before the S or not? Let me know in the comments below. But here, we're hearing a definite voicing, turning it into a Z. Next.
Statement.
Listen to that statement, but you can hear a dental T here.
Mm-hmm. Statement.
But that's very good. It's very close to what I would say is a native, just a little bit forward T. Next.
Anime is rich.
Have a listen to that. That is full native English speaker.
Yeah, for a moment, I'm like, bro, if that's wrong, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing.
Rich. Listen to the glottal stop in rich.
Anime is rich. Can
you see that? Listen to this.
Rich.
You can see this full blackness between rich. The voice totally stops. This is something that isn't normally trained. It just comes from the environment.
Yes.
Rich. Okay, let's look at this next one.
The entirety.
Okay, this is probably one of the first words I would say sounds not native.
Entirety. Society. I'm just trying to see if I do it with other. Desire.
Because of the vowel. Have a listen.
The entirety.
The entirety. I would have more of a diphthong coming in on the E bit. Entirety, the entirety, tie. But he's not really coming down on the E.
I think I'm doing ire. I do that with fire. I say fire rather than fire.
In entirety. Have a listen.
The entirety.
It sounds a little bit more like entirety.
Tara.
I can't hear it coming down. Again, am I nitpicking? Totally. But it's
that's
just
the purpose
fascinating
of the video, of course.
As a native English speaker, because
of course
he could fool some native English speakers, but even if
I think the only case, I don't think I could, but I think I can only if you put me in the UK. Believe it or not, and this is something I have experienced. Right now, when you hear me speak, it's maybe UK reminiscent up to a certain extent with quite a bit of Italian in it and maybe some other weird things here and there. That's how I would describe my accent. But if you put me in the UK for 2 weeks, I become a lot more, like a lot closer to an English person when I speak. Still, you can tell I'm not a native, but there is a massive difference. Why? It's like tuning of a radio. There are some sounds that I can produce on my own, but there are other sounds that I depend on a native speaker with that accent. And when the native speaker is removed, then what happens is that I go ever so slightly out of tune. And I need something else to tune myself to kind of sort of, lean on to. It's what I noticed. And so whenever I do go to England, I sound different than when I'm removed. At least in my own experience, if I had to self-assess.
You weren't into phonology and stuff like that. After listening for a while, you think, nah, something's there, but I don't know what it is. It's probably stuff like this.
The government.
That's your Italian.
Is it? Government.
are coming in. Have a listen.
Government. How do you say? Government? Government. That's how you say. You say it's double
the government. The
two
government.
syllables.
The government. You can see from people who are coming from rolled R backgrounds. Some you can suppress it for a long time, but not all the time. Have a listen. Government instead of government. Government.
Yeah.
So.
Governo, sì.
This from the mother tongue is just wanting to jump in there.
True. You know when it happens though? It happens more when I've just switched from either Italian or sometimes Japanese. Those affect the way I speak English for a few seconds before I return to the natural matrix that I adopt when I am speaking English. So if I record a video and all I do is speak English, even better if I'm having a conversation with someone rather than the performative accent that I may use when I'm on camera. So if I'm having a conversation, it may even sound different than when I'm presenting a subject. I think this happens to anyone, native or no. And then so that's what I was saying. But then if I'm like saying in the city of Roma, if I stop for a second to pronounce it the way is natural to me, if the next word starts with an R, I might roll it because it's still basing on the fact that I switched. And this happens with Japanese as well. If I said something in Japanese, not that the Japanese have the same R as the Italians, they don't, but it is a single tap as opposed to a to the kind of R that you use in English.
And because I guess this is a cognate to what we have in Italian, comes in as government. Yes. It's not a full roll, by the way. It's just like a tap.
Yes.
But in English, government, we wouldn't say government.
Of course.
Government. We drop the R.
The government. Government. I'm
not even sure if the R is there, but if you say so, I'll believe it.
But no matter what dialect of English you have, you probably wouldn't say it like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I take that one, 100%.
The native English speaker. And I don't think he would always say it like that. It just slipped in. Next.
True.
Kanji, speaking the number of kanji.
And again, you can hear that tapping again. So maybe he's switching into a rolly or a tappy R mode. Now, have a listen.
The number of kanji.
It's true, number, because I'm saying kanji and I'm focusing on the pitch of kanji because I don't want to say kanji. I want to say kanji, which is correct. It's Japanese that influencing my English right now and it's bringing back the R of Italian. Believe it or not, but that is what's happening. I normally would say number of. I wouldn't say number of, but the R is slipping in there because I'm switching languages.
Number. Which we wouldn't do in British English or Australian. We'd say number of.
Forgetting how to.
Okay, listen to that really frontal T in the forgetting again.
Forgetting how to.
Yeah, it's an Italian T 100% if I've ever seen one.
Forgetting.
And you can even see on his teeth there. Look at that tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that? Oh, I can't really zoom in here in Audition, but if you have a look at his tongue is way up on near the back of his teeth. Forgetting instead of forgetting. Where
you're flapping it. So one thing I'm noticing is that you tend to say forgetting. I don't really use flapping. So forgetting. So I think I would have to try to switch to forgetting. It's either forgetting, forget, forgot. Yeah, I guess forgetting is what I would say if I were to. I don't think I would say, rather than forgetting. But I wouldn't say forgetting because it doesn't sound natural to me to flap it. Just like I wouldn't flap, I would say beauty rather than beauty. Beauty sounds nice to me though.
As a native English speaker, we would probably have it further back. Again, I say native English speaker, it depends where you're from.
Yeah.
But for this, from the UK, from Australia, you wouldn't get it that far close to the teeth.
Go through it.
And again, we've got more
through. Yeah, I do through sometimes. I don't know why. It's so difficult for me after the interdental. It's difficult to do the through. I guess unless I change it into an F for lazy talk, I could say through, then I wouldn't run into that problem. But if I'm trying to fully articulate that, then through. The R comes more natural to me. I wonder why.
It's tapped R coming in.
Through it. Go through it. Go through it.
Through it. Through it. It's happening. Through it. Through it. Through it. It's tapping there, not through it.
Yeah.
If.
Okay. This one here, some people may disagree, and it's minuscule, but I would say the I on if is a little too long.
Yeah.
A fraction, millisecond too long. If. It's more like a if where your tongue is lifted up.
Definitely coming from Italian Matrix, yeah.
E rather than I. E. It's more palatal rather than this rounded E.
Right.
And it's a tad long. So even if I was stretching the word out, I would say if, and my voice drops before that. If. But have a listen to this. If.
Yeah.
He's got a lateral tongue. And it's almost palatizing over the E.
It looks like I'm having a stroke.
Can you hear that? If. It's not a native English I. Okay, this next one.
Don't worry about the tones. Don't worry about the tones. Don't worry about the tones.
Tones. Let me hear that word. Tones again.
Tones.
The tones.
Tones. Yeah.
Hey, I think that one depends on the accent. There's a lot of different ways to pronounce that, in my opinion.
I think this little tiny tell of some of the diphthongs, and so this O going too far forward, and this sounds like tones instead of tones, or tones. Have a listen.
I really like his voice, by the way.
Tones.
But it's a tiny thing, and you could get your odd native English speaker doing that, but in aggregate, again, it's just a tiny little tell.
Makes sense.
To say maybe he's not a native speaker. Okay, let's have a listen to this.
It's an excuse to be lazy.
Yeah, again, we've got the it's an excuse to be lazy. It's an excuse. No voice.
Oh, excuse to be. But you say excuse me, right? So excuse me with a Z, but excuse to be. Man, yeah, that's kind of difficult, but I'll try to remember.
But have a listen to this. Excuse to. Okay, and I'll just zoom in on here. Ooze. It's almost devoicing, but you're still getting this Z kind of feel to excuse to be lazy. It's not fully cutting off. It's an excuse to be lazy.
Thank you for that.
Excuse to be lazy. It sounds like excuse to be lazy. Like excuse me, but excuse and excuse.
Okay, so in excuse me, he does do it. So good to know. Write it down, guys.
Different. So again, it's totally nitpicking, but a native speaker probably wouldn't have that in their muscles. You hear that excuse to be, it's still kind of voiced.
You could pass N1.
Oh, listen to that. So that's the Italian. You could pass N1. You could pass N1. Now, I work with a lot of Italians, and I will hear this over the English a lot.
You could pass N1.
Can you hear?
Because I did the full N. I think it depends. Sometimes I'll say one, and sometimes I'll say one. It's contextual for me, but I guess it shouldn't be.
This N1.
One.
True.
One.
That
and
is the classic, I guess, cliche Italian accent that we hear when the vowel is always put in the end. Very often you'll hear Italians, even with consonants, especially these nasal M's, N's, one, and the voice will want to sort of bounce off there, where I'd say...
The only reason why I'm speeding him up is because I need to go take care of the baby, but I am interested. I don't want to skip it, so I'm going to continue a little bit, but I'm going to speed him up.
One. I would never have a circumstance where I've got a final N and I think to say one. It'd be one.
Of course.
If I
no native English speaker would do that.
Keep the N on. But this is...
Unless you start doing this.
Very, very Italian. Pronouncing a sound, one, the natural thing for an Italian voice box is to enunciate the vowel after the N. So have a listen.
One.
That is not native English.
Even if.
And then lastly, what's this one I've got?
Even if.
Yeah, again, it's that I in the if. Now,
it's something with me and if. We just don't, something with me between. It's a love-hate relationship.
People might disagree with me in the comments, but have a listen.
If.
Even if. Can you hear how fast the I is? Even if. this if is there, but here's this Eve. It's carried on, and look at it, it's a microsecond. Eve. But that little length there, and the fact that it's Eve.
I need a compilation of him saying Eve for an hour.
Now, as a native English speaker, we have this rounded E. In Thai, it's E, is lateral. This is E, and it's got a little bit of a glide to it. Can you see this here in the voice print? Eve. That is not native English. And this is one of these things that if you are a native English speaker, you're going to be hearing things like this. You won't know why it doesn't sound native, but it might be this tiny extended lateralized
Totally legit.
I that gives it away.
Yeah.
So what's the verdict? Is Metatron lying? Is he really secretly a native English speaker?
No.
Or is he, as he says, a non-native English speaker and just done a stellar job at learning
I really appreciate that, by the way.
English? I don't think he's a liar. We've seen from the evidence here, I would say, little things give it away. Some of the vowels like that, the E instead of E. Just the palatization and the length of some vowel sounds, the frontal versus in some words, just those tiny things are enough to sort of twing, it doesn't really fit in that sound set that I'd be expecting there. The de-vocalization of certain sounds like a D to a T, or the vocalization of like because of this to because of this.
I loved that one, by the way. I'm definitely going to work on that.
Where, just tiny little things that you're not even taught in English. It just happens that way as a native English speaker because of this, where it's slipped into his voice. I don't know if he'd ever spent actively trying to implement those things over his English to
100%. Yeah. I was obsessed, as I was saying. It's just I missed some.
Really model his native English accent. But something has happened there where just a few of these have got little aberrations where they're kicking in, where, they are a thing.
Chromatic aberrations.
But there are some anomalies there. There are some times where we don't do that as a native speaker. I don't know why. It just happens like that. So when you hear it, it gives it away. If you took any one of these things in isolation, you think, a native speaker would say that. But then when you put it as an aggregate in the whole, it's not. And then the other thing that really gives it away is the whole issue of a T and an R. So the T, we've got a dental T versus this palatal T on the hard palate versus the glottal stop. So totally cut off, or act. So you can see that it's not act, which he said perfectly act. But then other times it would come up here when he was doing a palatal vowel sound.
Very situational, yeah.
So that moves around where in a native English speaker, you wouldn't really see that shifting between different T's. You would see some change, but not the ones that Metatron is doing. And then lastly, I would say is...
I'm very inclusive with T's.
the tapping of the R, where in British English, Australian English, we have this more rotal There are some dialects where they're, right. Maybe you'll tap it there, but not in this way. And so you can hear some of the natural tendency to roll your R, or at least tap it, kicking in with him. And then lastly was that N, where we could hear the vowel bumping off the end of the N.
Probably the emphasis is what generated that, because normally I don't pronounce the N like that anymore. And I think the reason was emphasis. When I go emphatic, the only way I know how to do it is becoming more Italian, I suppose.
N, where as a native English speaker, if we had a final N, it wouldn't ever occur to us to bounce a vowel off the N if we were holding that final consonant. We'd just say N, not N, off the end. Just these little tiny tells. Anyway, Metatron, I hope you have enjoyed this at the very least. And I hope people watching this, you've asked, how do we use the spectrogram? How do we really read it? How does
Can't use it because I'm covering it. Covering the evidence, Your Honor.
Help us. I hope that you've seen that it's actually really useful. You can see where the voice is activating, not activating, where it's placed, how the tones go. That thing will actually show you tonal pitch contours as well. So it's super good for pitch accents or for learning tonal languages.
Yeah, as I was saying. Thank you very much, brother. Really appreciated this. I'll definitely work on that. I will work on it because of your help. That sentence doesn't make sense. Thank you for watching and joining Metatron's Academy. Go check him out. Subscribe to his channel. Have a good one. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.